Hello everybody, how you doing? Well, this morning I've been up in Derbyshire doing another photography job, but this afternoon it's given me a couple of hours free. So it would be a little bit rude really to rush home without trying to get in a little bit of landscape photography done. So yeah, let's see what we can do. Right, now I do have another ulterior motive really for being in Derbyshire today, and that is a few years ago now when I first started photography, actually that's 20 plus years ago, I used to use an awful lot of filters, and I don't know whether there's anybody out there old enough to remember when you used to use things like orange filters to put on the front so that you could turn your sunsets and sunrises that little bit more golden. Well, I think really those days are gone, and these days the kit I'm using is quite stripped down, but it is quite cumbersome and difficult to put on. And while I was at the photography show in March this year, up there, I did manage to sneak off a couple of times and have a look at quite a few of the manufacturers there that were doing filters. And there is a big trend these days for magnetic filters. Now, I'd never tried these before, but while I was at the show I tried them and thought, you know, these are really going to be a lot better than what I'm using now, a lot less fiddly, quicker to put on, and there's various advantages with them. Now, I didn't really have time to look too much into it at that time, but when I got back I contacted some friends I have at K&F Concept I've worked with before, and they said, yeah, we do filters, we'll send you some out. So they've sent me a specific kit out that I asked for, which has got a circular polarizer and then some ND filters in there to so that you use for darkening down images so that you can slow the water down and stuff like that. So I think there's a 10 stopper and a 6 stopper, and I thought I'd give them a go really, because this is such a small package compared to what I was carrying around before. And it appears to me from the ones that I've used that it's so quick to get them on and off that, yeah, it's going to really be a big advantage for me, especially when it's cold and wet and you're trying to fiddle around with filters. It can be a complete and utter pain. And a lot of the time it leads you to you not bothering at all. And sometimes certain filters you can't get the same effect with post-processing. A lot of them you can, but there's just a couple, and these happens to be the ones that I asked for, that you can't really replicate it. Or certainly you can do images that look like they're longer exposures, but it's an awful lot of work for me sat at the computer, and I'd rather do it out in the field. So that's what I do, using a filter. But we'll see how we get on with them today, and yeah, we'll see if we can get some images. Now, K&F Concept have sent me these for free to try out, and one thing I would like to make you aware of is I get a lot of things sent to me and you don't see them. And the reason you don't see them is a couple of reasons really. One, I don't think they'd be useful to you. One, I don't think they'd be useful to me. Or they're not very good. So if any of those things come up when I initially get them, if A, they don't work as well as I thought, you know, B, they're not useful to me, I can't see a use for them, you just won't see them on the channel. So obviously these have already been out with me over about a week. I've tried them out, so I know that, you know, they're pretty good. So really I just want to show them to you and see what you think. But as I say, they've already passed the sniff test, if you like. They're on the channel, so they are worthwhile putting on the channel, and these will be going in my camera bag. But let's get to a little bit of a review, and let's see how they do out here today, and then you can make your own mind up. Right, I suppose the first thing that is different from traditional filters is, I don't know whether you saw there, I've just screwed in that ring. Now these filters you get in the actual size of the lens that you're going to use. So what most people recommend is if you've got a lens that you use for landscape photography that's, say, like this one is 77mm, they would say get a size bigger. So you'd get an 82mm step-up type ring, so that it's 77 into your lens but 82 for the filter, so your filters are slightly bigger. And the reason for that is a lot of these filters can be quite wide, and if you stack, which you can stack numbers of filters on top of each other if you need to, you can get vignetting appearing in your image. Now, I've only bought 77s because, to be honest, this 24-120 Nikon lens is my main landscape lens. I'm really, really happy with it. And I probably will never use more than 2 stacked filters at a time anyway. So I just went for the 77s. The other important thing to remember is with these, is you can put that on at home. So if you're going out in inclement, terrible weather, or it's cold or whatever, and you're going to have trouble getting these on with your hands, maybe you've got gloves on, you can put this on at home, and then basically you use that lens cap. It comes with a magnetic lens cap, so you can put that on and your lens is protected. You leave that on all the time. And also, like here today, I'm putting this on here now, and then I'm just going to leave it on and leave this magnetic lens cap on, because I'm going up onto the top and I might be using filters again. So rather than having to unscrew it, put your lens cap back on, this can stay on. You can leave it on all the time that you're shooting, which is a way to A, save time, and B, it's a lot less fiddly if you're wearing gloves or it's cold weather, etc. Right, so this was the original composition I had here. Obviously you can see the cascade in the background is really, really small, and there's a lot of dead water in the foreground here. What I was hoping was this water was going to pull through from here and then give me a nice line with a longer exposure down towards where the camera is, to have sort of a nice leading line. What I also had a problem with was the light was on this rock here at the time when I was shooting, so it was a really bright highlight over here, and the cascade just looks really small. So what I did was I ended up zooming into about there. Now here you can see we've got a rock on the left hand side, we've got a big rock on the right hand side, we've got the cascade moving out the back towards that top left corner with that fallen branch as well at the top. And by doing a longer exposure, we have got a bit of a line coming through to the bottom right corner here of the image. So we're going to give it a go. It's not a world-beating image, but I wanted to try it out with these filters, and yeah, let me know what you think.
So this is the first image I took, the one that was in the video. As you can see, nothing spectacular, but this was taken at 2 seconds at f11. And basically just using the polarizer out of the filter set. There's a reasonable line through the image from top left to bottom right using the water there, and it's quite balanced with the rocks on either side. This second image I really do love. I spent about an hour and a half messing around with different filters. This is a 13-second exposure at f8 using the polarizer and the 6 stopper, and I really do love the complexity of this image. Created by the water flowing through it on different sides, and the balance with the small fern in the top right with the rock poking through the water on the bottom left. Now, after all this work, I did come up with a couple of conclusions about filters in general, and also these K&F concept filters. So let's get back to the studio. Right, as I said to you, I came up with a couple of conclusions from doing this video, so let's quickly get to them. The first one is a general conclusion about magnetic filters. And I don't think until I'd used these that I'd realised how resistant I'd become to using filters in my photography. And that's really just because at the times I want to use a filter, it's often the times where I've got really challenging weather conditions or something, and they were so difficult to use. It just became another ball that you were juggling that often you could do without, and often I would find that I wasn't reaching for the filters and I was just not bothering. Now with these magnetic filters, what I found was that they were so easy. That second image that I took there, I spent probably an hour and a half completely lost in my photography, just changing filters, changing combinations of filters, changing settings, changing the composition of the image, trying different things, and it was an absolute joy. I found that the filters, rather than becoming a hindrance, just helped the creative process again, which I hadn't found my old ones doing for such a long time. So that's the first point. Whatever type of magnetic filter you use, I think it's probably the way to go, because it doesn't hinder your photography and actually helps your photography in the end. You'll find that you actually enjoy using filters again. Now my second point is about specifically these K&F concept filters. I struggled to find anything that I didn't particularly like about them. They do exactly what they need to do. I couldn't find any faults with them, you know, I couldn't find any faults by obviously what you're doing when you put a filter on a lens is you've got really expensive lens glass and then you're putting another piece of glass in front of it. Now if that piece of glass is in any way faulty or not up to scratch, you can affect your final image, and obviously you don't want to do that when you're spending all that money on expensive lenses. I had no problems with these whatsoever. I had no problems stacking two filters on a 77mm lens with 77mm filters. I didn't get any vignetting at all. Worked absolutely perfectly, but I would still say to people, if you're going to stack more than that, probably get a bigger filter and use step-up rings. But that's for all magnetic filters. What I also like about these, and I'll put the specs up for these particular filters on the screen now if you're interested in that sort of thing. They are fully coated, etc. Some people say they're slightly warm as an image. I don't particularly find that to be a problem. When you're a landscape photographer, what you're doing anyway is you're trying to create mood within your images, and we all do that by changing the temperature of the shot. So if I'm trying to show you that it's a really bitter cold environment, I will choose a cooler temperature for that image rather than trying to warm it up, and you just do that in post-processing. What I also like about K&F is that if you go onto their website, you'll find that there are various combinations of these filters, so which if you don't use these particular filters, there'll be a combination that suits you that they can send you out. And price wise, you know, probably half price if not less than some other brands, and for me they do exactly the same job. You know, if you want to try magnetic filters and you don't want to invest £300, £400, £500 in a set, I would seriously say have a go at these. They're not going to degrade your image, they're only going to improve it, and they'll improve your photography experience. Anyway, that's me done. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's not gone on too long. As I say, really enjoyed using magnetic filters, something I'm going to use in the future an awful lot. I can see myself doing that. And I'll see you next time for another one. Bye.